You can have long-term, successful relationships. Let's first recap what we talked about in the previous video. We talked about indoctrination. What is it to be indoctrinized? To be indoctrinized is to be taught a particular set of beliefs without question. In other words, learn being taught beliefs uncritically, without critical thinking. So this is what I provide you. I provide you critical thinking. And so one of the aspects that we don't criticize, we don't critically think about is relationships. We just do relationships because this is how we do them. Purely convention. The overwhelming number of people that practice relationship purely because it's convention is pretty much everybody. How do you prove that to yourself? Well, let me ask you a question. Anything you know that you don't know why you know is suspect. Let me say that again. Anything that you don't know why you know it, but you just know it. You haven't provided any experiments, you haven't done any introspection or circumspection. You just know it is suspect. And the third thing we talked about in the previous video is that people build models around relationships based on convention, based on simply it's what people do. This is how it's always been done. What else am I supposed to do? And people build a model around that. Even people in open relationships, which is non-traditional, they build a model of relationships based on the monogamous model. And what I'm trying to communicate with you is you build a model about relationships based on what actually makes a relationship happy. Ask yourself the question, what makes a successful, happy, fulfilling, satisfying, and sexy relationship? Find out what those things are, and then build a model that would work for you. You understand, the open relationship model, which is what I propose, is not the only model that works. There are many different models and arrangements, and we'll talk about that in a second, that work so long as is presumed to begin with fundamental aspects of happy relationships. People build relationship models around traditional models, such as monogamy. Monogamy, well, Ron, we haven't evolved to be monogamous. So then what do you suggest that we build a model of relationships on? Begin with the premise that monogamy is simply organizational management. It's people management. Some clever individuals way back said, you know what, we're much better off having one man to one woman, so let's have this thing. And then once they discovered the idea of ownership, because we didn't have the idea, ownership didn't exist when we were nomadic and we traveled where food was. We simply had forced egalitarian societies and tribes. Once we discovered farming and agriculture and ranching, we discovered, hey, we don't have to travel everywhere. We can just stay in one place. And then we can own that land. So long as we can protect that land, we can pass it off to our offsprings. We can stay there and farm and ranch. And we can survive. And then we discovered the idea of ownership. And then women relegated their power so that they can just get all of their resources from one man. And men created rules so that properties of one owner doesn't stray to another owner. Another owner doesn't stray onto their property, particularly their women. They needed rules set so that they knew that their firstborn were actually their own. Because their firstborn, they're going to invest a lot of energy in, would inherit that land. All their life's work, that offspring will inherit. And so it really became important for men to know that their children were their own. And so they created rules like having chastity bells or having harem guards. So they knew that their firstborn were their own. They even created something called a honeymoon. The honeymoon was created so that the woman was sequestered away from other men before their first copulation, presumably, after their marriage. So going back, it's just a organization model, monogamy. What is a better? Well, you know that 50% of first marriages end in divorce. 70% of second marriages end in divorce. And so it's not a very good organization model. 85 and over 85% of crimes, murders, are from jealousy. It's heinous. And so, what's a better organization model? I propose to you that the better organization model for relationships that are successful and happy, presumably about love, is one based first on first principles, first on what makes a happy relationship, and then build a model around that. Let's define what a relationship is, and then we'll go over how to make a successful relationship, whether it's open or closed. A relationship is how you interact and interface with entities. It's not a relationship, and a happy relationship is one that's monogamous, one that's one man, one woman establishing themselves into a partnership for a lifetime long partnership. And that, in the eyes of convention, in the eyes of society, is a successful relationship. Not the case. Many people practice the conventional style of relationship purely because it's convention. They remain in that relationship miserably. There are a lot of gay people that remain in a relationship purely because it's convention, purely because their parent will judge them otherwise, or their peers will judge them otherwise. Do you understand? I have a lot of clients like that, whom I see because they're my clients, whom I see because of that very, very fact. Quiet desperation, they say. So, a relationship is how people interact and interface. How you build a successful relationship is the dynamic in which how you interact and interface is one that is happy and fulfilling and satisfying, and then you build a model around that. Now, because what I propose in my models, in my model of relationship, which I propose, which is the open relationship, is based on merit. What is merit? Merit is deservedness. It's deserving. That the relationship is based, it exists because it deserves to exist. Purely on merit. Now, of course, when you have a relationship that deserves itself, in other words, let me clarify that. When you have a best friend, without making any arrangements or pacts or legal documents about their being your best friend, for the lifetime, until something happens that's tragic, for a lifelong time, they are your best friend. Why is that? It's because you love them and they love you and you like each other and you really get along with each other. You share the same values. And this is the reason why it's a lifelong relationship. So how do you then create a relationship-based model based on merit? You become a worthyful person. You love your partner, you're non-judgmentally accepting, you're openly communicating, and you facilitate open communication by encouraging them to be themselves. Creating strategies in your relationship so that they can be themselves around you. They feel loved because you genuinely love them. You want for their happiness, well-being, and gain and actualization. That's how you become a worthyful partner. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.